So with all those distractions, it's very difficult oftentimes for couples to be together. The screen pulls them in. Talk to your wife and ask her, hey, what kind of marriage do we want? And maybe one of those things is we want to be fully seen and heard. We want to actually get to know each other. We want to date as a couple again. We wouldn't invite 1,000 people into our home if we're trying to have an intimate conversation or an intimate dinner. So let's not do that through these digital devices. And as soon as I get into her world, you know what she does, guys? She turns her phone off because really she's using the phone as a substitute for my attention. Be crazy. Do those things you used to do when you were dating. Be goofy. Be unapologetically you, right? Be more interesting than Instagram or TikTok or Snap, whatever it is. Hey guys, in an age where our screens command more attention than our partners oftentimes, today we want to talk about how to navigate this digital lifestyle and still keep the romance and spark alive in your marriage. Now, there's 3 key things we're going to talk about in this episode of the TPM Show. One is understanding the impact, right? How did we get here? 2 is how can we use communication styles so we can bring more intimacy in despite that? And 3 is how can we rekindle the spark despite the fact that we're in this digital age? Now, I know oftentimes I will talk to guys and they'll share with me their frustrations because they'll say, Doug, you know, when I come home, my wife's sitting on the couch doom scrolling Instagram. And literally, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that from a man, I'd be even richer. But the truth is the digital devices are designed to suck us in, right? They're designed to do that. Billions of dollars have been spent on the technology with social media and other applications to keep us in our devices, right? In fact, where you're listening or watching this, there are, mechanisms that are designed to have you keep listening. That's why at the end of a lot of our shows, I say, hey, don't make this educational masturbation and go from one show to another without actually taking action. Because those devices are designed to keep you within that app or within that platform. If you're watching this on YouTube, right, it's going to give you suggestions of other videos to watch immediately. In fact, it might just show you the next video. So with all those distractions, and all that marketing and all that psychology applied, it's very difficult oftentimes for couples to be together, with their screen time. The screen pulls them in. And then when you add in the fact that disconnection often happens between couples, right? You got arguments or you drift because you're taking care of the day-to-days of the family life or the business. We start to disassociate ourselves from each other, from one another. And this happens with this technology filling the gap, right? So when you're bored, do you check TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform when you're bored, just to, really quickly to give you a little bit of time? Or does your wife, is she scrolling Instagram, Pinterest, or whatever else it is? Is that how she keeps up with her friends going through there? And if you guys have been disconnected or if you're in a sexless marriage, oftentimes she needs something, and you do too, to fill that gap. Now, for us men, we're businessmen. We often do that with work. But our wives, especially if they're stay-at-home wives, they're going to look to find their tribe online. This is also why a lot of guys will come to us and find out that their wife's having an emotional affair online, right? She's in that device. And this happens all too often. So one of the things that I'm really going to recommend you do is get on a detox, right? What I mean by this is get on a digital detox. So once a week, minimum, once a week, talk to your wife about this first. Once a week, agree to set all your electronic devices into a drawer. Now I'm talking smartphones, iPads, Kindles, whatever it may be, any digital device, put it into a drawer. The reason we want to put it into a drawer is there's less distractions. Studies have shown that even if you take your cell phone and put it up face down and you're in front of somebody, they don't feel as connected. They don't feel as heard just because the device is out. So the device needs to be out of sight. The temptation shouldn't be there. Don't put it in your pocket because you'll go to the bathroom and you'll pull it out again. That's not a digital detox, right? I want you to have a true digital detox where you and your wife and your kids, right, don't have any electronic devices. Start with 1 day a week, right? For a lot of couples, this is actually very difficult, right? Sounds easy to do, but like most things that sound easy, it actually can be difficult. You'll be amazed at how many times you will reach for your phone in your pocket, or you'll reach for that distraction when things get uncomfortable. This is going to allow you guys to come together, to bring yourselves together, right? And have conversations that matter. I also often recommend to guys that you get one of those card decks. There's tons of them out there. I've used literally probably 20 different brands and things that go there. And all of them have their merits, right? There's ones for kids, there's ones for families, there's ones for intimacy. You got to figure out what stage you're at in your marriage right now. So if you are in a sexless marriage, don't necessarily get a deck that's going to talk about kinky sex stuff. That's probably not where you're at. Get something that's going to meet you and your wife, or your family in this case, at the level you're at now, with the idea that you will keep getting more and more connected. You can raise the bar. So we have one that works for our family with our kids that we'll ask, and it's got silly questions and things of that nature. But there's also ones you can get, like I said, that have deeper levels of connection. Byron Katie just came out with one, I believe, recently, and there's a bunch of them that are out there. Table Topics is one that I often buy for people. So pick your brand. I'm not promoting one or the other. Again, there's quite a few out there you can select from. But you can put that on your table, right, instead of the phones, and spark conversation. It's also a great opportunity to go for a walk with your wife, right? Go for a walk, because when you're kinetic, you actually can, use more energy. You also won't have as many barriers up. And a walk is also nice because you're out in nature, hopefully, or out in public. You're getting fresh air. You're changing what you're looking at or what you're doing, your activity, and it can stimulate conversation and conversations that matter. And that's really important. Really, what we also want to look at here is having certain times that are tech-free zones in your house, right? What does that mean? Well, in my house, we have different rules. Like, so for my truck, my kids can't eat in my truck. I just don't want them eating in my truck, right? It is a snack-free zone, we call it, right? Kids just don't do it. And they know it. They know, hey, in Daddy's truck, we just don't eat snacks in it. I know for long road trips, they get a treat where they're able to do it. But we also want to have tech-free areas. So maybe it's the dining room, right? Hey, no devices in the dining room. No phones, no laptops, no iPads. It is a digital-free space. And when you have these designated zones, these also can be consciously or subconsciously create safety zones, right? And what you'll see happen is your wife will say, hey, come sit with me in the dining room. I want to talk to you. And if that ever happens, what she's going to be saying is, I want to make sure I have your attention, not your phone. I don't want you checking Slack, checking text messages, checking WhatsApp, or whatever else it is that you do, right? She wants your full undivided attention, and you may want hers. And these are the great places for conversations. Now, don't make these places just for conversations that are serious, right? Don't make that mistake. I've done this before, where you sit your wife down and you have a business board meeting conversation. It's not going to be enjoyable for either of you. And the next time you invite her into that space, she's going to get triggered and have the same memory of the previous conversation. So make it fun, make it light, and make the use of technology something that you add on to your relationship and your marriage, not something that's taking you guys apart. And that's really a key thing. Now, how do you get buy-in, right? Your wife may not want to do that. So one of the things you can do, there's a lot of documentaries out there and things on the adverse effects of social media. And I believe most of the people in Silicon Valley have admitted to not allowing their kids or people in their family to use some of these devices. And it's because they know the impact, the emotional impact. But talk to your wife and ask her, hey, what kind of marriage do we want? Right? Let's have that conversation. And maybe one of those things is we want to be fully seen and heard. We want to actually get to know each other. We want to date as a couple again. And to do that, we don't want any distractions. We wouldn't invite 1,000 people into our home if we're trying to have an intimate conversation or an intimate dinner. So let's not do that through these digital devices. And have a fun conversation. Again, it's about collaboration. I would want to bring my wife into the conversation about creating a dream. Like, what is it we want together? Now, you as the leader of the house, you get to lead that conversation, but you want buy-in. You don't want to walk in there and say, hey, Wednesdays are digital free and this is the way it's going to be. Like a dictator, it's not going to go over well if you do that. Also, if you just create this rule, maybe your wife follows it once or twice, but eventually it's just going to erode. Get the buy-in from her. Just tell her about what it's going to do for you guys, right? What it's going to do is create more intimacy. It's going to create more connection time. You're going to get to know each other better, right? This could be the one thing that saves your marriage, right? Or if your marriage is doing well, this could be the one thing that takes it from good to great. I always say life is too short for average. You don't want to be average, right? The average people always have these devices on and they're always out. And I'm not knocking it, right? I think they're really great. I use my device all the time. I use smart monitors and all kinds of things. But there's a time and place for everything, right? For everything, even in the bedroom. So you want to make sure that you're doing that and you're using that well. And then set aside some time, right, to check in about these rules and regulations that you're putting in. Make sure they're still working, right? And at the table, this is a great time to have conversations about what it is we do on these devices, right? A lot of people hide out. A lot of people create secrets on these devices, right? You want to find out. Like I'll ask my wife, like, hey, why Instagram? Why are you scrolling on Instagram? I'm not judging. I'm just really curious. I don't use Instagram very much. I'm just curious what it is you're doing. And my wife will tell me, I get to follow my friends. I don't get to see my old roommates in college and et cetera, et cetera. And then I'll get into her world. It gives me an opportunity to do so. And as soon as I get into her world, you know what she does, guys? She turns her phone off. Not because she's hiding something. She'll show me everything. But she turns her phone off because really she's using the phone as a substitute for my attention. And once I give her my attention, she doesn't need or want the phone anymore. And so it really helps her. And oftentimes what I'll tell guys when they say, Doug, when I come home, my wife's doom scrolling Instagram and she doesn't get off it and acts like I'm not even there. Right? What I often tell you guys is be more interesting than Instagram. Do more interesting stuff. And do it without her. You don't have to do it with her or do it without her. Be more interesting, be more fun, be more lively. Turn the music on, start dancing, be crazy. Do those things you used to do when you were dating, right? When you were dating, you created mystery. You did some goofy stuff. She laughed. Now you do goofy stuff. She's going to look down on you, right? Maybe because you guys have some distance, but be goofy. Be unapologetically you, right? Be more interesting than Instagram or TikTok or Snap, whatever it is. Whatever platform she tends to go to or everyone you tend to go to. Again, I'm not knocking using these platforms. I use them, right? We all do. But what is it that you're getting from that, right? What is it you're using it for? Just like porn or alcohol or drugs, why are you using these things, right? You want to know that you're using them and they aren't using you. That's the key here, right? Is your phone using you? Look at your screen time. If you have an iPhone or an Android, you can see what screen time you have. And is that screen time manageable? Maybe your screen time is 8 hours. Maybe it's 20 hours. What else could you be doing with that time? Is that productive time? Is that time that you want to be doing those things? Are you meditating? Are you spending time in mindfulness? And if you're not, then substitute some of your screen time for that. We all use it for business. At least that's our excuse. But the key here is going on this digital detox for yourself, but also for your partner, giving her the excuse to get off her phone. She may not see it as a problem, or she may see it as a major problem. I know this conversation comes up in my home quite often. My wife will make a comment when we were in Hawaii recently, made a comment, it was nice to see you not on your phone as much. In my mind, I'm like thinking, I'm not on my phone that often. You are. She's on her phone all the time was a story that was playing in my head. But the interesting thing is I just took it as, okay, her perception of me is being on my phone more than she would like me to be. That's it. That's great. That means she wants me more than the phone. She wants to be around me. My perception is she's on her phone a lot. So we had a dialogue about it. We laughed and we joked, and I made it playful and fun. And I made sure that my expectation or what I got out of that conversation was my wife wants more of me and less of me on something else, the phone or with another person or whatever it is. She wants my attention. She loves me. She likes me, right? We want that. And that creates more intimacy. When we bring our phones and devices into our bedroom, I make that a tech-free zone, right? Your bedroom's for two things, making love and sleeping. That's it. Those are the only two things you get to do in the bedroom, in my opinion, right? And maybe your situation's going to be different, but make that a tech-free zone. Now, if you got some tech toys, if you will, hey, I'm all for it. Do it. Consenting adults, in my opinion, can do whatever consenting adults want to do. However, that's with a purpose, right? And again, what I'm saying over and over again is you want to make sure that you are using this technology to your advantage to get the best out of it rather than the technology using you. And that's the key component. So a couple things that I want you to do coming out of this conversation. Step one, have a conversation with your wife about technology. Step two, pick a day and do a digital detox. Now, it doesn't mean the entire day, but when you get home for you and your wife, maybe it's 5 p.m., maybe it's 6 p.m., whatever it is for you, all devices go into a box. If you want to include your kids, I'm all for that too. It's a device-free day. You can take it a step further and unplug the TVs, right? Or just make sure they stay off. No electronic devices. In fact, some nights we light candles for dinner. We don't even turn the lights on. And it stimulates such amazing conversations between myself, my kids, and my wife. It really just sets the mood. Everybody's energy gets, just for some reason, gets calmer, right? Everybody calms down. Now when we do it, it's like a trigger so everybody knows to relax, and we're going to have some great conversations. We're going to have some fun with it and do it. The third thing I want you to do is pick some tech-free zones in your life. Now, maybe it's the car. Maybe get some windshield time just to think. Or maybe, just maybe, it's your bedroom, right? That's a great place to do it, guys. And maybe it's also your dining room table. Now, a lot of people think about this in theory, but what I want you to do is take massive action. If this is resonating with you at all, maybe you don't have the problem, but you think your wife does. Well, be the leader. Showcase. Show her by action, by example, not by words, not being a dictator. Just talk to her and enroll her into this world of doing this digital detox. It's getting harder and harder with wearables and everything else that we have these days. And that's why it's even more important today, guys, to actually do this and take this detox. And I'm recommending a minimum of once a week. One time a week, right? One time. And if it's hard for you and you got teenage kids, yep, I get it. Make it dinner. Hey, dinner, no devices, no exceptions to the rule, right? You can't come to the dinner table with your device, period, end of story. Whatever you guys do, take massive action. As I always say, I want you guys to have the best. And this is one other step you can take to getting more connected to your partner.